Because I feel comfortable in what I wear.
And I am unique.
For comfort.
And nice. And I like them.
When looking at the subject of appearance, specifically clothing, we thought about how fashion is portrayed in fashion shows around the world. Considering there are so many different clothing styles in every country around the world, why are fashion shows still going ahead?
Knowing that fashion shows are only 10 minutes long, why all the fuss about size 0 models? Surely it shouldn't matter what size they are for only 10 minutes. For only 10 minutes of footage, there are so many celebs there trying to get the latest look, and so much photo footage being stored for future use. I feel that there is too much hype around the fashion show image that people forget how the clothes look and focus on how the models look and how they want to look like a model on a runway. I think that this is where all the issues on appearance branch from.
The fashion industry generates an average revenue of $22 billion each year. Considering the amount of branded clothing shops like Bank, River Island, Blue Ink that are around now, that sounds like a reasonable revenue. The amount of people who want to shop for the latest look don't consider the price of each individual product, they just want to match the latest trend and look. The way individuals dress should be individual, not the way everybody else is dressed. Here is an interview from a fashion student that attends North Harts College.
Well, my grandma was a fashion designer and so is my mum, so I've always grown up with fashion, like as a background. From a young age I was sewing, really interested in like drawing stuff, so yeah, just since then, and I love shopping, so just since then I've just been going on. And here I am doing fashion. The latest trends today, I think, from where trends used to be, they've come a long way. I think at the moment most high street shops are just copying high-end, high fashion trends now, and a lot of people recently are following trends. So say there's like the tartan trend, people are now buying tartan a lot more. So I think trends now, people are wearing trendy stuff at the moment now. I think it'll be really futuristic, so like materials that we use to make clothes will be like something we wouldn't expect clothes to be made out of. It'll be like different, it'll be stuff that people now won't think about. I say I would create similar clothes to trends, but I don't really follow trends, so I would like use trends as an inspiration or something to look at, but I make my clothes a bit different from trends, so they wouldn't be the same. Definitely, yeah. There's a lot of time where you see people and you're like, I wonder what kind of person they would be, but sometimes I think it's a yes and no answer. Like, yes, it can represent the person, but at the same time, some people might not be able to afford the clothes that they want to wear, so it could be both.
Through the history of clothing, we see that the men and women wear different clothing. We also see that there are distinct differences between the clothing that the rich and poor people wear. There are many cultural differences that can be portrayed through the clothes that different people wear.
In the Egyptian times, men wore loincloth and a kind of kilt, and women wore dresses with shoulder straps. Both pieces of clothing were made from cotton and linen. During this time, clothes started to become more elaborate and colourful.
The Greeks, even though living in a country with a high climate, wore clothing that covered the most part of their bodies. The women wore rectangles of material that stopped at their ankles with holes in it for arms and legs. This material was tied at the waist, made of wool or cloth and known as peplos. Men wore plain tunics that stopped at the knees. These tunics were also made of wool and tied at the waist.
In the Roman times, men wore tunics or togas made of wool or linen. The citizens of Rome wore semi-circular pieces of clothing called togas. These garments were one-shouldered. Some of the higher people in Roman society, for example senators, wore togas with a colourful stripe as a mark of their rank. Women in Roman culture wore long dresses called stolas. These garments were dyed different colours.
Indian clothing is closely related to the local culture, religion and climate. Men and women wear different things that are either colourful or practical. Women traditionally wear saris or salwar kameez. Men traditionally wear dhoti, lungi or kata. In the south, the clothing varies from t-shirts and shirts to colourful cloth with many different patterns.
In the Muslim cultures, women wear a headscarf called the hijab. They wear this as a sign of respect for their religion and a sign of preservation. It is worn covering the hair and only shows the face.
In the Middle Ages, around about the 12th and 13th century, the clothes were very basic. The men wore tunics and the women wore nighty-like garments.
In the 16th century, the poor people wore clothes that had to be hard-wearing and practical. All classes wore wool, but it varied in quality. Rich women wore silk stockings. Men wore short trouser-like garments called breeches and tight-fitted jackets called doublets. Everyone wore hats. Poor women wore a linen cap called a coif. The clothes in this time were very elaborate and buttons were used for decoration.
17th century, men started to wear starched collars called ruffs. Women began to wear frames of wood or whalebone underneath their dresses. In this time, men wore knee-length trousers called breeches. They also wore stockings and boots. On the upper body, most men usually wore linen shirts. Women wore nighty-like garments called shifts. These were worn underneath long dresses. Women's clothing started being made in two parts, the bodice and the skirt. Sometimes women wore two skirts.
In the 18th century, men still wore breeches and stockings. They also wore waistcoats, frock coats and linen shirts. Both men and women wore wigs. Men wore buckled shoes and women wore stays. A bodice with strips of whalebone. They are hooped petticoats under their dresses. Fashion was very important for the wealthy and richer women carried folded fans.
In the 19th century, men's clothes came in three parts: breeches, the waistcoat and the coat. Women wore light dresses in the early 19th century because it was unacceptable to show their legs. In the year 1910, women wore hobble skirts so narrow that they could only hobble along. During World War I, women's clothing became more practical. A revolution in women's clothing occurred in 1925. At this time, women began wearing knee-length skirts. We also interviewed different people from the public to get their views on appearance.
I wear what I wear because I feel comfortable and I am unique.
Because I feel comfortable in what I wear.
Now I've got the dog here, I do a lot of dog walking, just sort of, it's comfort, you know, because I'm always out doing doggy things, and I work as well, so it's just quickly in the mornings, put the jeans on, top on, and then I can quickly change into my work gear and things like that, so, and generally jeans are just easy, so, unless I'm going out, which isn't very often, because my husband doesn't let me out.
And nice.
A lot of them are very embarrassing.
I think today's latest trends are a bit silly because everyone has to follow them.
I don't like most of them.
I think that a lot of them are going back 2 years ago with a bit of a tweak on them. So they're very similar to what I used to wear when I was young. But yeah, they're nice. A lot of them, yeah. They're good. Nice and colourful and bright and great.
Yeah, you are what you wear.
Yes, I think they do, generally. I think people wear suits to try and make themselves come across as important, and people don't wear suits and think people wear casual clothes and that if they don't want to, if they're just quite casual and things. So yeah, I think they do, yeah.
No, because clothes do not represent anything about the person.
I don't think it looks, I don't know, it depends on what the person's wearing. Sometimes some people wear clothes that are designer, yet they're like really poor. And like sometimes it's the other way around. And like personality wise, sometimes people copy their friends. Or like sometimes people having a bad day with their clothes, so they say, oh, I'll just put on anything. So yeah, but then sometimes it does.
when I was younger, lots of pop stars and that used to influence me. Not so much now.
No, because I am who I am and I don't believe in following others.
No, because I start most fashions.
Yes, I suppose so. Don't put photos on your CV.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, because people are very judgmental.
Even if it's subconsciously, I think they do, even if they don't mean to. I think they do look at people and think, oh, they make a decision on what they're like. Yes, I do.